We're going to find Bigfoot.
Dude, are you kidding? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Collider Interviews YouTube channel for an interview for an upcoming movie I'm very excited to tell you all about right now. Please join me in welcoming Max Tzannes from Found Footage, The Making of the Patterson Project. Huge congratulations on your movie.
Thanks, Perri. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the correct pronunciation of my last name. You just nailed it.
You know I'm always here for that. And again, never give anyone an excuse to feel okay with mispronouncing your name.
No taken. I hear you.
So I clearly know what your movie is. I quite liked your movie, but because a lot of people out there are going to first learn about the making of the Patterson Project through this interview, would you mind kicking us off with a brief synopsis?
Yeah. The movie is a mockumentary about a group of filmmakers who are making a found footage movie. That's the setup. And then some things happen along the way that maybe change the genre a little bit midway through. But I think it's really fun. And kind of what we're going for was just trying to riff as much as possible on our own experience and make fun of ourselves as much as we can while still telling a somewhat cohesive narrative.
You tick all those boxes, I will say, from my own personal opinion, at least. And I quite like the genre mashup of it all. Before I get into specifics with the story, one particular thing I wanted to make sure to carve out time to talk about is Dirty Shot Clean, your filmmaking collective. Can you tell us a little bit about how the three of you met and maybe how you all determined that it was best to navigate this industry together rather than as individuals?
Yeah. I feel a little naked right now. Normally I have the two other individuals on either side here. On this side would be Jacob Souza. He's a cinematographer, editor, Steadicam op, colorist, just like, swinging all the roles, the true filmmaker of the group. I met him in 2018 and we started making short films together. He was like the college film school dropout type who just got a camera and started making stuff, And I had some scripts and we started making little short films. And in the process of making those short films, we met this guy over here. This is David San Miguel. He's an incredible composer, actor. He was actually our casting director on this movie. But the whole idea of the company was basically, how can we have as few people as possible try to make that were in like the head creative positions that could make a movie from the beginning all the way to the end. So we had so much help from the cast and crew, like crazy. But as far as the inception of the movie and bringing it to like the vision that it is now, the vision. What am I?
It is a vision.
I guess it is. Yeah. It's really collective, like group effort. And the reason that we decided to do it together is because it's really hard to do this stuff alone, especially in independent film. There's a lot of no's, there's endless no's, and it's cool to meet people who are really passionate, really talented, but also that you can rely on in the tough times that you will absolutely see in this movie. But then also who are still willing to get up the next day and try just as hard, if not harder. So that's really like, I think what combines us as like a company. We all have that same mentality.
So there's your filmmaking collective, and then you kind of merged with another one for this project, Radio Silence, and I adore the three of them oh so much. Can you tell me a little bit about how you met with them initially, and maybe also something about their support that not only helped you get this movie made, but made the way you wanted?
Yeah, I think so. Radio Silence was already like a huge North Star for our company, just seeing their trajectory, making YouTube videos that were viral and then going and making independent films and then studio movies and kind of like ticking every box along the way. Also, I guess the way that they're so in tune with the horror comedy genre, the audience, but also the tone. So it was really cool that when we were able to get a rough cut of the movie over to them. So our manager, Nick at Gotham Group, managed to get a cut over to Chad, and then he shared it with the other guys, Matt and Tyler. And I think they just connected with it because I know that they went through very similar experiences making independent films. And I think they even picked up on little scenes that like no one would even notice. Just remembering there's one really small scene, it's not a spoiler, where the characters set out, they have this terrible shoot day, which is classic, and everything's going wrong. And then the producers on the movie just set up tables for lunch. And I remember Tyler saying, like, I remember that feeling where like everything's falling apart, but I'm setting up this table right now. I can control the setting up of this table. And from that, I could just tell we were kind of cut from the same cloth, you know? So they've been amazing, like guys, mentors, but they've also been really helpful in helping like navigate from rough cut then to the final product, getting distribution and ideally like next steps and stuff like that. They've been, I don't know, really instrumental, and just, it's nice to see people who've gone through it before and are also really giving with their time and effort.
It's incredible how much the idea of being able to control one like super simple small thing just like hits home for anyone who's ever made a short or a feature. The one thing that immediately brought my mind back to was like everything being all crazy on a shoot, but at the very least I was able to make sure that our like crew Airbnb was stocked with toilet paper and Advil.
Oh,
As
yeah.
long as I did that, like I did something that meant something that I could control.
Totally. I mean, that's it. It's the little victories along the way. And then the really cool thing is then sometimes in the chaos, and that was like I guess the mentality that was embrace the chaos on this shoot. That was the whole idea. And sometimes, very rarely, you can channel those limitations into like a cool scene. And that's where you're like, oh, wow, this is pretty fun, you know?
Do you have an example of that where maybe it doesn't cross over into spoiler territory?
That's a really good question. I probably should prepare that. I'm thinking, well, for one, budgetary concerns, right? So if you just start with like a low budget, you can look at it two ways. You can say, well, I guess I can't make my dreams come true, or you can take those parameters and try to tell the best story possible. So I think what that helped with us was it kind of forced us to hunker down on the script and say, well, you know, we can never break out of this found footage, this mockumentary style. I'm always trying to break form all the time, which is not, you know, it's fun, but also like there is something very rewarding about sticking to a parameter that you've set for yourself at the beginning, and then having literally the financial parameter of we don't have the ability to shoot this like a you know a movie, a single cam, just financially and time wise. We shot the movie in 13 days, so we had to stick to that, and ultimately that's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Not to give up too much, but it starts as a mockumentary and then it turns into a different type of genre movie.
Yes, I like that quite a bit, and you handled that pivot very, very well. I have a couple of follow-up questions. I wanted to ask one about coming up with this story first, and I love asking this question because it speaks to the evolution of an idea. Can you tell me idea number one, the thing that started this all, but then also if you guys had a break story moment, something you came up with along the way that made you think like this idea feels whole and ready to go now?
Yeah, so I'd say those happened at once because we were just like, when we like see something, we're just like, let's do it. Of course, it's going to work, you know. So that we don't need much to say this is going to be a movie because we're just so really excited. And if there's an idea that we're all 100% behind, it's just so rare that it's like, yes, let's try. And the idea that came to us, I think, was we had just made another movie, and we had quit our jobs making that movie, and we were coming off of, you know, a bunch of short films, and it felt like we had this catalog of experience on set in independent film. And I think something that happens in horror movies, again, not to give too much away, is very often, you know, the characters, you'll question their decision making because some terrible thing is happening, and you think you in that circumstance would never go into the dark room. You'd never walk down the hallway. You know, maybe you would, Perri. I mean, maybe you're just that person.
Honestly, I probably would.
Right. But me, the scaredy cat that I am, I'm under the covers. I'm in the other room. I'm calling my dad, you know, whatever. But when it comes to being on set, everything's going wrong anyways. So if there was, say, some sort of nefarious presence in the background that was causing genuinely terrifying things to happen, I would probably just chalk them up to the chaos of being on set. So that was really exciting. It's like, okay, so how do we make a movie about that? So it kind of all came from that idea.
You brought up the other movie you had made, which that's coming out soon too. I believe I had read somewhere that that's getting a summer release.
Yeah, shockingly, they're coming out at the same exact time, of course.
So I was reading the log line for that movie, and that story is also told from the perspective of a director, right?
I see where you're going with this. Yes, it is.
What is it about telling stories from that perspective that appeals to you guys?
I think it's very interesting. So for that one is it stars Lou Diamond Phillips, who plays the director of like a little regional production of Julius Caesar, and he goes a little crazy. And it has Malcolm McDowell, who's playing like this janitor of the theater, a mysterious character, and things go horribly awry. You could say that there's some similarities between these two movies. I'd say the presentation's totally different. That one's much more taught, much more like a play, and this one's obviously has a mockumentary backdrop. I think my background is in theater and in acting, and David is also an actor too. He comes from the theater world. I went to school for musical theater, for what it's worth, and he went to school for for acting. And I think that first one, Act 2, was more from the point of view of being the actor looking to the director, who's a little scary, which is something that I felt throughout my college years. And then I think the found footage was much more on the other side then. Now we're the young kind of directors who are maybe a little silly and have a false sense of, confidence, and we're just going to try it and see what happens. So I think they're similar stories, but told from different perspectives.
This is so interesting. Now I want you to make, I love how I'm like putting in orders now. For your next movie, I need more horror movie musicals in my life.
Well,
there's just not enough.
I have a notepad, right? I'm writing that down. Horror movie musical. It's happening. 100%.
Okay.
It's a huge.
I like manifesting things in interviews, so maybe that'll happen.
Absolutely, it's a huge dream. Musical, huge dream. Horror musical, unbelievable.
I love me horror movie musicals. I also really do love the found footage format, and I think it is a style of filmmaking that has endless potential. So, can you tell me a little bit about maybe finding like untapped corners of that filmmaking format to explore? Because oftentimes with found footage, people are always like, that's like an overdone format. Like, we've seen it enough. We've seen everything. But I'm a big believer that is not true. And I think your movie is an example of a film that proves it.
I think that you're totally right. It's funny because it's one of the easiest, quote unquote movies to make, but I don't see a crazy number of found footage movies getting made every single year that like pops out and you're like, oh, they're doing something different, or they're just going for a classic found footage concept. And I think it is because there's this fear that you're just trying to chase the Blair Witch and Paranormal Activity. I would say the main thing we looked to was really playing it as straight as possible as a comedy. So that if the scares were taken out of the movie, you would be able to enjoy this movie as not to this level, but an Office style mockumentary about this, a ragtag group trying to do, a little production, their little startup, right? And what's so great about the genre then is sometimes those mockumentaries, I find Christopher Guest is absolute, one of my biggest inspirations, love him. But there's some other ones that are maybe not Christopher Guest mockumentaries. They lose a little steam towards the third act, I find, just because there's only so many jokes you can make, and you really have to be invested with those characters, right? And they have to be grounded. And that's where the horror comes in, because it's nice to have this kind of horror concept. The characters have to be grounded enough that you believe that they're in a serious situation where something bad could actually happen to them. And then, of course, horror, the third act of every horror movie is like the most exciting part, right? So that was an exciting experiment for us. Can we pull off a movie that starts very, mockumentary, joke forward, and then ends in a different place?
Oh, you do that so well. Another thing that I really loved about your movie is the fact that it's very playful. It's poking fun at the experience of making an independent film, but it's also celebrating it at the same time. And that kind of demands an extremely large ensemble where you're kind of respecting every single person on a film crew and in the cast. So can you tell me a little bit about getting the script to a point where I guess everybody is memorable and everybody is being celebrated as they should?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that a lot of the debt for that goes to the actors, because like This Is Spinal Tap, for example, we wrote a 60-page script with no dialogue to start. And then right before we added lines, because we had a panic attack, as one does, we're like, oh yeah, we'll just feel in the moment. It's like, no, we're like, what if we don't feel in the moment? What if there is no moment? So we added lines. And then the way we kind of did it was the first take, we'd go on book. The second take, we go away from that. And the third take, we just kind of let them do their thing. And they had created such well-rounded characters that I think started with the audition process, which was just say your name, say your title, and tell us a romantic part, like what you look for in a romantic partner. Just kind of let's see what they do with this. And some people would send us a 10-minute tape, talking about and also what's your aspirations in filmmaking, I think was another one. So a huge, the actors really, they're the ones who made the character special. And I think all the way from Chase, our lead actor, to, you know, the little small parts that come, like, you know, we wanted to make sure that it was a real film set. So there is hair and makeup, you know, there is a costume designer. It's not like they were trying to make a real movie here, you know? So you have to, from a budget standpoint, do we need to have both? It's like, yeah, you do, because that's what you have on a set, you know? And then they take over and they make these great characters. I think when you said the celebration of movies, a huge debt for this movie is owed to American Movie, which is a documentary that we probably watch once every year, which is an absolute celebration, love letter, but also really a lot of suffering when it comes to trying to make movies. And Mark, the main subject in that movie, is someone who's like a huge hero of ours. And the passion he shows was something we hope we could capture in the movie.
Movies about making movies, especially that celebrate how hard the process could be and what you need in order to power through it and make something special. It just fills me up in a unique way. I like to end on this question as much as I possibly can because I think it's really important. Feels like in film and television, we give each other awards and that's super cool, but nobody ever stops and like tells themselves how proud of themselves they are when they complete something. So I want to know something you guys did making found footage, the making of the Patterson Project, that you know, no matter how many movies you make, you're always going to look back on that particular aspect of the production and say like, damn, I'm really proud of what we did there.
Oh, I mean, I have to be honest with you. I'm proud of the movie. We've made a lot of short films. We made we made a feature film. It's a movie that I will watch again in my free time, which is, I know that's crazy. I never thought I'd say that about a movie I'd make, right? Because I do think so often when you're watching a movie, you see all the imperfections. And the reason that I will watch it is because I know so much of it was the improv of people that were around me. My crew, like, absolutely crushing it, making it so that we were wrapping early on days when we should have been 2 hours late. And the cast improvising like crazy, doing like some of the funniest bit. I'll give you one specific moment. There's a moment in the found footage movie. It's the first scene they try to film, and a character, it's one line. It just says basically he's having trouble framing the camera. It's the character in the found footage movie who's supposed to be holding the camera the entire time. Now, in the script, that was one line. It's a 2.5 minute scene, and it's completely. It's the only reason it's that long is because they just kept going, and it was like, I remember hearing Jacob, my editor, just laughing when he was doing his editor's cut. I walk in and he's cutting that scene together, and basically cut it together raw. Like we didn't trim too much fat off of it. It's like, just let it run. This is hilarious, right? So I'm very proud of that because it's not really so much. I didn't really have much to do with it. It's all these people that I was lucky enough to work with.
Just immediately brought me right back to that visual too. Quite like that. I'm going to tell you, huge congratulations on this movie. And for everybody watching right now, I was going to say, if you want to check it out, of course you want to check it out. There's many ways you can. So first, the movie is getting a limited theatrical release starting June 20th. It's going to be streaming on June 24th in North America, and then also streaming in the UK beginning June 30th. And then on top of that, right now, right this very second, you can go over to Apple and just pre-order the movie so you could watch it at home. Watch it, spread the word. Max, huge congratulations to you and the team. It really is one heck of an accomplishment to make a movie the way you did. And again, I love the fact that it celebrates and pokes fun at the idea of making an independent film is incredibly hard and takes everybody's whole heart. And I appreciate that.
Thank you, Perri. It was wonderful talking to you. I really appreciate you giving a platform for us to talk about this funny little movie.